There are so many different tips and tricks on how to make junk journal pages and ephemera a lot easier. Some of them you may have seen before, but you might need a gentle reminder to use them, and others you may not have seen at all. Understanding your craft and knowing the shortcuts, or hacks as some people call them, is gold. Today we're going to go over 10 tips, and the first one is for sure to be a winner. Have you ever tried to dye your paper with avocado? You know, to get that pretty pink paper that you see everyone achieve, but you don't get that result. Well, I have a cheat for you. It's faux avocado dyed paper. Did you know you can get the white copy paper in these beautiful soft pastel colours? You can get them in brights too. So what we're going to be using to make our faux avocado paper is the pink colour and some coffee in the water. I'm just going to show you how quick and easy it is to colour just one sheet of paper. I'm not going to do a whole batch. So if you've got a small area, doing this way is great. So just grab your pink piece of paper, and you can put as much coffee in the water as you want. If you want a lighter colour, go lighter than I have. And then just splash a little bit of coffee where you want it. You don't have to put much on here because the objective is to get your pink paper showing through. It's winter time here in Australia, so I'm just going to pop this sheet of paper on my tray and put it in front of the fireplace. This will dry in no time at all. So here's the difference between a plain pink sheet and the coffee dyed sheet. And then you can fold it to make a page for whatever style journal you're making. It looks fantastic in these tall, skinny journals, so I've folded mine long ways. Tip number 2 is how to shorten these legs on a brad. Just say if you've got some brads, some of them have really short legs on them, like these here, and some of them are long. Now the ones on the left aren't overly long, but if you had some that have really long legs on them, this is how you would shorten them. See here on these pliers, they've got a concave on one side, and on the other side of that, they've got a bit of a blade. That is for cutting metal. So you just open up your brad, put one arm in that blade, close it, and give it a wiggle. You don't have to necessarily try and squeeze it to cut it. Just put it in there and wiggle it until it breaks off. Then get a nail file. A metal one is always better because you are filing off the metal edges. And just give it a little file on these sharp corners. If you've got a jewellery file, even better. And if you haven't got a pair of pliers and you have got a pair of jewellery snippers, do the same. Just hold it and wiggle it, and they just break off so easy. Now you've got shorter legs on your brads if you don't want them hanging out past whatever it is that you're putting in your journal. Tip number 3, when you've got a larger punch, but you've got a small piece of paper. When you've got a punch like this, and you've got a long piece of paper, it's easy to punch out what you want to do. But when you've got a small piece of paper like this and you put it in your punch, it gets lost. You've got nowhere to hang on to it. You can't move it around to be able to punch it exactly where you want it. So my tip for this is to get a piece of sticky note paper and just stick it on one end of your small piece of paper and then feed it into your punch. And look how much easier this is to use. Just be careful when you're peeling off your little piece of paper, you don't do what I've done here and tear it. Tip number 4 is how to cut a window out properly without getting overcuts. And I'll show you what an overcut is and how to avoid them. You can use a finger blade craft knife or a retractable blade craft knife to do this. If you're cutting out something like this, like a square, and you just cut it willy-nilly, this is an overcut when you cut past the corner. So a good way to cut out a window or a little square or a shape where you want it to look nice and neat because it's a feature is you start at one corner and stop before you get to the bottom corner, turn it around, and then start at the corner and join it back up to your first cut. Do that on both ends. So you're cutting from one corner, stop short of the bottom corner, turn it around and cut it the other way and join it up. Now we're going to do the long lines. Start at the corner on the right hand side, drag your knife down the line until you get to the bottom, nearly to the bottom of the corner, and stop. Turn it around. We're on the left hand side. Put your knife blade on the corner and then join it up to that cut line. Start on the right hand top corner, drag that knife down, stop short again, turn your work around and start at the left hand corner again, and it will just fall out. You have no overcuts. Your little window looks perfect. Do exactly the same, even more so in these small windows because they show up even more. Starting from the corners, turn your work around and cut back in towards the center. Takes a little bit longer, but boy, it looks so much better. Once you've cut it out, hold your blade in the center of the square and they just drop out. Tip number 5, getting cheap ledger pages. Don't be disappointed when you can't get an original French ledger like this 1935 model all the way from France, or this Australian business ledger that I went halves with my friend Gayleen. She got this on an eBay auction back in 2022. So my half cost me $32. The alternative to these old handwritten journals is to just get one from the op shop. This one's from 1990. I paid $3 for it and I got it this month in June in 2024. Even though this is blank, it still makes beautiful journal pages. So keep a lookout when you go to the charity shops. Look for these things. You'd be surprised at what you can find. But if you can't find them in the charity shops, go to your office supplies and just get the brand new ones and coffee dye them. They work just as well. Tip number 6 is a DIY closure post. Credit goes to 𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃 for this tip, and she said she saw it done by Eva, who is a genius at crafting over at Bohemian Crafting. I'm going to pretend this is my cover, and I'm going to use the front here and punch a 1/8 hole in the very center to put my post in. This is what an original hitch post looks like. I'll show you how it works and then I'll show you how you can make your own version of it. It comes in 2 pieces. You've got a little screw, then you put that screw in the bottom of your hole and screw your post on the top. But the way we're going to make it is we're going to use a brad and an eyelet. This eyelet is 3/8 of an inch and you have this pretty flange part facing down. You need a brad that's legs are long enough to go through your cover. Put that into the eyelet with the jagged side just tucking under the head of your brad. So now your legs are hanging out the bottom of your eyelet. So pinch them legs together and put them in the hole. So once that's in your hole, you've got your post on the top of your cover. On the opposite side, which is the inside of your cover, all you got to do is spread the legs of your brad open. Now once you've spread these legs open, just press them to lay flat. I've opened and shut these heaps of times so they're a bit bent. You can cover these with your end papers or a piece of washi tape. Look at the difference between a 𝗃𝗶𝗱𝗲 hitch post and the one we just made using an eyelet and a brad. They both look really good. And this is how you use them. You just hitch a piece of ribbon or elastic over the front here. Tip number 7 are making your own hole reinforcements. The ones on the left are the ones I've made myself, and the ones on the right here are office style hole reinforcements, and they are a sticker. If you're a beginner, you would be wondering, why would you use a hole reinforcement? Well, we use them mostly on tags. And you might be also wondering, why do we use tags? Well, tags are little works of art that we like to pop in our junk journals. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the hole reinforcement out of the leftover from my tag. So I'm going to need 2 circle punches. The one on the right is the main circle and the little one is the inside circle. It really doesn't matter what sizes you use whatever size suits the hole you want to make. The size of these is 15mm and 1/8 of an inch for the inside circle. The best way to use these little punches are upside down. So use your inside small hole first. So punch that out and then grab your bigger punch and line that up around the small hole and punch that out. You can punch out as many of these hole reinforcers as you like in whatever colour you like, so that when you're ready to make a tag you can just grab one. I always like to punch my hole out in my tag before I glue the hole reinforcer down, otherwise it might be just too thick to punch through. So if you put these hole reinforcements on the front and the back, you've got to get your hole punch to try and punch through all of those thicknesses. Put a bit of colour on the edges of your tags if that's how you like them done. And if you like the idea of having these clear tag templates in your stash, I've put the link in the description box below for you. Tip number 8 is a way to help you easily cut these stitches. A couple of years ago I picked up this clay carving sculpting set, and I only wanted this one tool here, and I wanted it because I wanted a pokey tool. But as it turned out, this little curved tool on the opposite end, I use it a lot, especially here to lift my stitches so that I can do a little snip without damaging the paper underneath. So it doesn't matter whether you're breaking the stitches in a precious Edith Holden book or a ledger. Once you've cut these stitches, you can just pull your paper pages out and use them wherever you like in your junk journals. Tip number 9, the paintbrush broom. This is an old paintbrush, and a really big wide paintbrush is best for this. We all know that when you're making junk journals, we make a mess. So if you're pulling stitches out or tearing paper, whatever it is, you need to wipe away a lot of these crumbs with your hand. Well, I find the easiest way to do this is use my paintbrush. It's one of the tools that I have right beside me at all times. You can use it to sweep up your mess, and if you rub out pencil lines, use the paintbrush to rub away the crumbs of your rubber as well. Tip number 10 is making decorative hinges for your junk journal pages. I've got a big scalloped oval punch here. You can use any shape punch you've got. You can use scraps or you can punch out some wallpaper or one of your digital prints like I'm going to do here. I'm using an Amity Bloom paper bag digital. I'm punching out 2 scalloped ovals and I'm folding it in half, and I'm going to glue one side of the hinge to the back of my paper bag pocket. I'm going to put one at the top and one at the bottom. Then put a little bit of glue on the back side of the hinge and then turn that over and just stick that down on your page where you want it to go. And that's it. This one is so easy, like all the other tips that I've given you today. This looks great. It's so easy to do and you'll use it over and over again. I've been crafting all my life, so these 10 tips are not my first. If you want to watch another 10 tips and tricks, I've done a collab with Antonio Makes. Go and watch this video here. You'll be up all night, but sorry, that's just how we craft.